Okay, so before I head out tonight, because it is Friday, I just wanted to talk about some things that I think I was sort of doing the same thing I've always done in the past is I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to mention it, I don't want to be part of the conflict. Guess what? Even when I didn't want to be a part of the conflict, I was still dragged into it. Somehow you're the reason that anybody ever wants to create a conflict is because their target is the peaceful people, is the people that don't necessarily want to get involved in problems because they lead a very peaceful uh standard kind of life. So I wanted to finish with my comments in the news, and I wanted to say that wait, the reason why so controversy and what it means is uh uh speaking from the heart is a little bit difficult when I am, heading out in the next few minutes. I mean, like time. Sure. Okay. So the reason why. Oh, okay. So my notes here are not necessarily something that I need to read like I'm reading a teleprompter. Either way, um, I I sort of like not grew up with this idea, but as I've been you know um throughout my world experience, I've noticed that controversy is not a good thing. Controversy, um, and so I wanted to just talk about how controversy is not necessarily such a bad thing. In fact, I'm actually very unconventional in a lot of ways. I don't necessarily want to do anything that offends anybody or harms people, but controversy is like why we catch a flu or why we catch, anything that our body has to digest and um, strengthen our immune system from. We, for the same, eh, just as a, bacteria, germ, whatever, virus, we also grow strong in our convictions because um, we want to actually have values. We want to have, okay, so identifying, identifying a woman. So controversy is not so bad. Controversy is good. Controversy is our sort of a springboard from where we're all gonna start to like brainstorm all the ideas and come to one conclusion, just like I was taught back in junior middle school. So so this is a springboard. Now controversy has two meanings, of course. Controversy is controversy is controversy, but sometimes controversy could be bad because controversy is going to lead you to um abuse and that sort of thing, and that's going to be like something that you can direct when I'll address when I'm directing it towards people that are abusing controversy. In this case, controversy is more a sort of uh, like incompatible ideas. Like there's the one thing or the other. You have to choose. You have to weigh one idea against the other, which is a better of two evils. As I'm, you know. So what do you do? Which is the better of two evils? So that is what controversy means to me, and that is why sometimes conventions aren't so great. In my case, conventions weren't so great because then I would just be like this little meek sheep that was just going to always go along, and I didn't have to, even though. And so I made the best of what I could, and here I am, still poor, but I'm happy. I'm can't complain. All right, so getting into controversies related to how we want our government to run. We're in the process of um, electing, I'm not sure what the proper term is, but we're going to be voting on as the people because the Senate represents the people. And um, we are okay. So for adults that don't like know the bigger picture of how the government is formed, it's formed into three branches: the executive branch, the judiciary branch, and the legislative branch. And there's like separate rules about, at the end of the day, the executive branch, for example, at the federal level would be like the government in California would have, like, the governor would be of California. They have their own Senate. They have like their own um, legislative body, etc. And the cities do as well, etc. And that's not important because who cares? Let's just get to what's really happening here, okay? So, how is your um I'm afraid to say that a lot of times California, when they brag about being the leaders into, certain uh, I guess, social norms, acceptable practices like abortion, like, choosing to, I mean, there's, it gets a little bit ridiculous because the whole point, they really, like, these people do not have their priorities straight. And anyway, whatsoever. And choosing to not, like, like the whole, like, environmentalism and stuff, that's fine. I can recycle all day long. Are these people actually tracking what happens to, like, all these bottles and where they go? Like, the same people that are, I highly doubt it. They're just people that are kicking and screaming and then just don't do anything about it. Really, it all comes down to resources. That's called economics. That's called accounting for everything. And how do you account for these things? They don't account for anything. All they want to do is open their big green, their they just want to talk nonsense all the time. Either way, let's go ahead and talk about how we are about to vote on a new justice that, because the election was stolen, I people some Americans still want to think that, oh no, we have to set the standard of not of like, we have the perfect election, so we're the perfect democracy. We can't ever say that we stole an election. It doesn't happen in the United States, so they say. Well, guess what? It actually did, and it does, and it will. And that is not all that is, the United States Constitution is based on. And I'm sorry to I'm not sorry for Black people that let whatever happened to them in the past, it happened to them because they wanted it to be the case. They were happy servants, just like we are now to the corporations of today. So, what would be the difference, for example, if I just one day said, heck no, I don't want corporations and banks to get bailed out anymore. We're taking over. We're and you better now apologize to us. Even though the whole time we were going along with everything, this is exactly the same way that African Americans came into this country to begin with. They wanted a piece of the pie. They wanted it, and they just played it cool. And now they're basically like turning their backs on everything that they actually prospered from. And they're, the people that hired them, which is now called an employer, don't work for anybody that you don't want to work for. That's why the employment laws changed, and it's at will. Don't. And so it actually was. I've always thought this is this was an at will situation even before. So you're introducing the idea of at will now. Well, Black people are trying to take over the world with mob rule. Not all Black people, obviously, and also not the Black people that are like street mobs. I'm talking about high level people like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris. Okay, so you can't be condescending to a person that we're trying to get into our Supreme Court. These are people that are going to serve like until a life term. Okay, they are not in a position to take sides with politicians and their views, and how their views might benefit themselves, and they're lining their own pockets. And this is exactly what's going on. I particularly don't like how Cory Booker's um, uh, attitude towards Brown Jackson is very condescending. Very sort of patronizing, like, oh, let me be your hero. And then, Brown Jackson's like, yeah, and then let me go be Monique's hero. She's a little Mexican lady. We'll save her from everything. She can have abortions, and she can get all her student debt written off because we're Black and we know the struggle. So now everybody has to struggle. And then and so you're creating a future of people that are going to go after you to say, like, why did you even, this is your projection of your wanting to be white people that supposedly enslaved you. So you need to step back and think about what the rest of the world actually thinks, and stop fooling with people's heads, especially the young people. Oh, AOC, yes. Luckily, you will lose the young base. If that is, I mean, that would be like, if that isn't the best news I've heard all day, I don't know what is. But seriously, the young base needs to stop following ignorant, um, you know, uh, you're not shiny, you're not, um, you're not anything. So identifying a woman, by the way, is very easy. It's very, very. How could you not be able to identify a woman? Well, this whole avatar thing about like growing onto people and trying to drive them and driving them crazy and trying to control them. is it doesn't count because the second you come back into yourself, you're yourself. You're either a man or a woman. You can't make people pretend that they're one thing or the other. This is satanic. This is like Satanism. Of course, you can define a woman. So if a man wants to compete with me, seriously, there's been like so many instances where I would, like, in my dreams, I kick ass. Like I've said, like I'm like I'm pretty strong. Maybe not physically, but that is my woman body inside. And it doesn't really matter because you know what? They can't handle a spiritual war because they're so dirty inside. Either way, Black people are just becoming a little bit more of a disappointment, and we need to start calling them out on it the exact same way as they keep calling white people out on what doesn't make them happy. Like, it doesn't make me happy that you do this. Well, it doesn't make me happy that you don't have a fucking solution, but you're always fucking complaining. Stop complaining. Get a solution. Let's talk. They have no solutions. And they're not willing to talk because, like I said, they're one sided, pushy people that just want to get their way. That's all they want. And it's very frustrating. Okay, so I guess I should be heading out to my local bar now. See you guys later.